What's going on, man?
Chilling, chilling. How you doing?
I'm pretty good. How you doing?
Awesome, man. Welcome to the Museum of Graffiti Art Talk. It's a blessing to have a real Miami pioneer in the building with us, man.
Oh, thank you, man. Appreciate it. I'm happy to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
No doubt. Well, let's get it cracking. So, DEK, man, you are an old school writer, started in New York, ended up in Miami. Tell us a little bit about your journey getting here. What was it like, North Miami and Hialeah, when you first landed?
When I first moved to North Miami, I was very young. It was like kindergarten time, but I was going back and forth to New York and stuff like that. That's how I was actually able to check out graffiti a lot, because when I would go visit New York, I would see some graffiti and stuff like that. But I've always been into drawing and painting my whole life. So seeing graffiti was just part of another extension of understanding another style of artwork that I appreciated my own, because of how I've grown up, where, I had to find things on my own and do things on my own. Graffiti was kind of like that extension of that too.
No doubt. Tell us about this building. Where is this getup?
That was in the pennant. That was the Fontainebleau pennant. The first time I went there was with Team. He brought me over there and showed me the pennant. We went in there. We had to break some bricks down to get inside, because they kept bricking it up. So we had to break the bricks down. It'd be pitch black when you walk in there, smell like crack, and stuff like that. And then we went in there and we painted. We painted a few things before we painted that one.
And who were some of the writers up at that time? And by the way, so you used to write demo before you wrote DEK, right?
Yeah, I was writing demo for a little while, yeah.
And so who were the people that were up at that time when you were exploring the pennants and just seeing what was going on in the graffiti world?
I remember seeing there was a crew called FAA and TWB and crews like that. I remember seeing them up. I think the VO5 guys were going in there a lot, ATA dudes, and a lot of the older cats.
No doubt, no doubt. So you started in North Miami. What brought you to Hialeah, and how did that change your influence as an artist?
Well, the thing that brought me to Hialeah is that my mom was trying to get me out of getting in trouble in North Miami. So I was getting in trouble in North Miami, and the funny thing is that she moved to Miami Lakes, thinking Miami Lakes was good. We only lasted in Miami Lakes for maybe a year tops. We had to move to Hialeah because, money issues. We moved into Hialeah, and then it just popped off from there, man. Just there was way more graffiti kind of movement going on in Hialeah than I felt was going on in North Miami. Even though North Miami had some movement, there was things going on. Hialeah had a definite cool style that I was really into.
And who was up in Hialeah at the time? And you're talking early 80s now, or 84, 85?
Yeah, I'm talking about like 83, 84, 85, when I first started going to Hialeah, just before I moved there. I remember 84, 85 seeing like Rare and Lime and all them dudes, and they had their hand style had like a movement to it, man. Like it was like running, so I really liked the way that looked, whereas like a lot of North Miami guys had like a New York style a little bit, where kind of like it was straight letters up and down. Hialeah had this like movement, like it was in motion. I was really digging it.
How, explain that? How can you take something that's still on a wall, it's a still thing, and make it look like it's moving? What
just had this, it had this tilt to it, man, where like it looked like it was flowing. It had like an angle on it, like it was in motion, like with the way people was writing in Hialeah. Because I think Hialeah was kind of fast, little more crowded, so things had to move a little bit more to catch your attention.
Word up. Yo, so for those of you just joining us right now, we got the legendary DEK 7 Up crew, 7 urban poets. What was the first crew you were in, and how did you transfer in to get down with 7 Up? And who put you down? Who was in the crew already when that started?
Well, when I first started with 7 Up, Tame came to my house, and we were on this thing called a phone line back in the days, like I think like Dash and Vice and all these people know what I'm talking about. The phone lines from back in the days when people would just kind of connect. I don't even remember how it started.
Party lines,
we ended up
like the big party chat rooms.
Yeah, the party chat lines. Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah, that's when I first heard like EMO was on there. That girl Eat Me Out and all that shit, and she was giving us a hard time. But yeah, so we kind of connected on that, and I was getting up with this kid named Zester Zine that we were bombing a lot, and Tame was bombing a lot. He came bombing in my neighborhood, so he was getting up around where I lived, And then I was going to his neighborhood where he lived. We didn't know we lived there. You know, each other lived in those neighborhoods. We were just hitting all of Hialeah. And then we somehow connected on that chat line. He said he was somebody else. So he came and met me. When he said he was somebody else, then when he came to meet me, he admitted who he was. And I was like, oh, shit. And he told me they were starting the 7-Up crew with Super Kaz and Paz and Cast. And if I was, you know, if I was down to get down.
And so there it was. That was it. History.
Yeah. So like, yeah, we say, yeah, let's get down. Let's do it.
So you're first generation 7-Up crew.
Yeah, from the very beginning.
No doubt. No doubt. And also another thing, like what I'd like to point out is I feel like, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you were a cat that really brought a lot of style to the game. Like your letters, I feel like were more advanced than what a lot of people were doing at the time. How did you break out and create a style that wasn't being done necessarily? You weren't copying New York. You were being inspired from what's around you. What gave you that inspiration to create letters like this, the 3D, the colors?
Yeah, you know, a lot of people, I didn't realize so much what I was doing at the moment, but, you know, hindsight's 2020. When I look at it, I felt like being in the environment of Florida, the way we were, it wasn't New York. We're like gray tones and overcast, you know. We have bright colors and pastels and, you know, and all that stuff. So I started using a lot of those colors. Now, it wasn't really a conscious thing. It was kind of like the environment inflicted me kind of thing, you know.
Word.
And a lot of people said to me they liked the way that I was messing with colors a lot, you know. So that's something I started to realize when people said they noticed it. I started putting it together. It kind of just felt like a natural thing, and it just kind of crossed over from all the other art things that I was doing, where I kind of did a natural flow and just let my instincts carry me a little bit more, instead of like trying to figure out things, you know, just go with the flow type things, you know. So then, you know, using a lot of the colors, and then Hialeah, you know, the pink and the flamingos and the Hialeah racetrack, I always try to incorporate pinks, because Hialeah and pink went together. So I was always, and pinks were always readily available in the hardware store, because nobody was buying any pinks. So
right.
we could always rack the pinks.
The Cryline hot pinks, no doubt.
Yeah, we threw all the pinks in there.
No doubt. Real quick, just big up Dunn, who's saying he was there the night you were painting that with AIM Crew. So this is the actual place we call the Love House, and this was the main wall right across from it. How did you start connecting with writers throughout the city that weren't necessarily from Hialeah? And what was that like, that connection?
Yeah, we connected with Seal first, and Seal seemed to know everybody. Seal was like the Ted Koppel of graffiti, man, you know? Seal always had like hookups and plans and plots to do things with different people. Hey, we're doing this today. We're going here today. We're taking flicks today. We're riding the rail today. We're bombing today. We're doing this today. So it was kind of fun hanging out with him, you know, because he always had a plan. So, and then he would hook up with people. Like, we literally would go to his house with somebody, and he would have beef with them. They would have a fist fight. After the fist fight, we'd go hang out and, you know, grab a beer and start looking at flicks.
No
That's
doubt.
how it was back then, you know. It was cool.
Big up CO6, original pioneer AIM Crew in the house, man, most definitely.
Yeah, and Mir too was always around a lot at that time. You know, Mir was bringing some good styles too. I liked his style.
And I was actually introduced to your work through Seal, riding the train. You know, I was told that you're actually considered in a book one of the rooftop kings. And that the first day I ever rode the train, I saw the DEK on the Waterbed City. I saw the Born to Burn we're going to get into. The 7-Up that was up there. I believe there was a TA that was up there for Tame. I mean, y'all have been putting in work for a long time, man. So I'm glad we have an opportunity to celebrate it.
Yeah.
You know, go ahead.
A lot of people didn't realize how much we were really doing. You know, even like other writers in Miami didn't really know how much we were really doing, because we did a lot of stuff in Hialeah, then traveled outside of Hialeah. And then later, when they started seeing some of the flicks, they're like, yo, I never saw this. I never saw that. We were going out. Vice was getting busy with us, you know, to like go out and piece like pretty much every weekend, man. We would rack cans during the week and piece on the weekends at night, you know, instead of hanging out, going out to some club or some shit like that. You know, we were painting a lot.
No doubt. No doubt. For those of you just joining us, we got the legendary DEK 7-Up crew in the building. You are live on Art Talk. It's not a game, museum, or graffiti. It's all love out here. If you can please support us by purchasing a badge, it helps these shows continue and else document and archive the history of Miami graffiti. And so we're going to keep it moving on with 7-Up crew. We touched a little bit on the history of it. What's some memories to you that just make you proud to be a member of this legendary graffiti crew?
Oh man, I gotta say, like all the memories that we had from back then, it was a fun time. It was some of the best times of my life, man. You know, like it was exciting. You know, I have to say, maybe it's not the proudest moment of most people's life, but getting up and racking cans and all that stuff, just and scaling those rooftops and creating those murals and getting down, and the way we operated together, all of us together as a crew. You know, we didn't play. It was on. We were serious about what we were doing, and we got busy, and we pieced that the whole night and rocked and finished the piece and came back the next day, took pictures. We accomplished missions that were very hard and difficult for any regular person to do by themselves. Without the whole crew, we wouldn't have been able to do the things that we did. And that was the coolest thing about it, is that we came together, you know, all of us to get this done, you know, and, you know, and it wasn't for money, and it wasn't even for fame, really. It was mostly for our own, to increase our own abilities to get better at you know, the artistic skills that we had at that time, and how we can move that to the future.
Word. I mean, and this piece right here, this is legendary. This is hanging inside the Museum of Graffiti. It's like, well, tell us a little bit about the history. Who worked on this? Where was it? How long did it run? I think I've only seen this in photos. This was passed around in photos as like a legendary piece. Thank you, Low Tech. Thank you. Big up, big up. What can you share with us about this piece? Some little background information.
That piece right there, we did right off of Cayocho, next to the Dunkin' Donuts. There used to be an old Frosty piece on that wall that was faded and chipping off the wall. And so we approached the owner and we're like, hey man, we could refresh that, you know, whatever, you know. And we actually got permission to do that in the daytime. So we were able to rock in the daytime, which was fun, you know. We never really got a chance to do that too often. You know, we're always like in a rush in the middle of the night to paint. So one of the first times we got, you know, the ability to paint with the legal side of the you know, graffiti scope was when we got to do this one, and where we could actually spend a little bit more time getting some of the details in there and seeing what we're doing in the daylight, as opposed to being in the pitch black dark. So you can see the frogs, they had so much extra detail than they would have had if it was an illegal piece, you know?
Right. And big up Vice, he said that the piece ran for over 20 years, man. Congratulations.
Yeah, that piece ran for a long time. I think the Too Tough piece ran for the longest.
Oh, we're gonna definitely get into that. So what are some of the different names 7-Up has stood for, and who are some of the artists who would, if anyone mentored you specifically, who was it, and then who came in under your wing that you helped put on?
I would have to say 100% without a doubt, Say from ATA is one of the, you know, I guess the people that really put me onto a lot of new ideas and understanding the skill of art, and not just in the graffiti aspect, just the fundamentals of art, you know, as it could be taught through maybe from a higher level, you know. Like he has great understanding as far as like the art, you know, ideas and repetition of shapes and use of colors and experimenting with new things that I never got really a chance to deal with on a level that he dealt with, that he passed on to me, you know. And Say is an actual real king as far as I was concerned. That guy, you know, he could really rock. If you ever seen one of his piece books, it'll drop your jaw in a second, man, because that guy killed it.
Big up Say. And so, legendary piece again. Legendary piece. So it's a Vice piece and a character. What can you tell us about this piece here?
That was a great night. That night we actually started piecing the Vice piece, and we came back the second night to do the character, if I remember correctly, or we couldn't even finish it because the character was so big. And then I remember seeing some scaffolding that was laid up around the building, that they were doing some work on the wall. And I said to Vice and these guys, I'm like, yo, you know what? Let's grab that scaffolding, man. Yeah. And we went around the corner, we took it apart and rebuilt the scaffolding on the wall so we can get up there and we can get that big on that piece. Illegal in the middle of the night up against the highway, and we rocked it. Then we took the scaffolding back down and replaced it just the way it was.
That's real writers' stories right there, yo. Taking down scaffolding, building, getting up.
Yeah, it was fucking awesome.
Illegal in the middle of the night with your crew kicking it, right? And
it's like Vice. Vice would always say all the time, you know, we recreate and innovate. That's what we do.
Word up, word up. It's so so Say's the one who kind of brought you into the graffiti world and taught you a lot of things. Who is there anyone that you helped usher in over the years into 7-Up?
I can say that Say taught me a lot of new things. I don't know if he brought me in, but I was already into it. Like me and him happened to be doing graffiti at the same time. He was a little more active.
Okay.
And during the beat club days, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
So I remember going to the beat club and seeing Grease Pig and Lucky 7 and all them guys. They were just a little more active than I was. I wasn't as active as they were, but I met Say after that in Hialeah through Tame when he met Say. And then so Say kind of was starting to fizzle out, he said, and that we brought him back in. So we brought each other back is kind of what happened. But like, there's a lot of dudes that were in Hialeah that were really killing it, like KV and even Terms and all them dudes that brought a whole new flair to like that graffiti Hialeah style movement with that angle I was talking about with the old school guys like Rare, where KV went off with that hand style with the skills of killing the wild style hand style when he was writing his name. The first time I saw his name, I was like, my first thought was like, what the fuck is that shit? Excuse my language, I'm sorry. But I was like, what is that? I can't even read it. It almost made me a little like, what's he trying to do? A little upset for a second, and then later come to really appreciate that he was bringing on some new skills. That my reaction to that was just, I was just shocked because it was so different, you know? I really appreciated what he brought to the game, and then we kind of came up together a little bit more, started painting together a lot. And he taught me, and we taught each other a lot of good things about working together as a team at the same time, you know?
Big up KV Style Masters, Ross Terms, just definitely brought the ill, wild style handwriting to the game, man, without a doubt, for sure. Most definitely. So not only walls, you know, you didn't just get up on walls, you did jackets, you've done some other things. What is the difference between painting a wall on a large scale and something like a jacket, for example?
You know, painting with a paintbrush is a skill within itself, which is something that I've been working on a whole lot for a long time. I was doing that before I was even writing with a can, you know, like markers and paintbrushes and stuff. And and for me, it seems like paintbrushing, every single time I use a paintbrush, it feels like a whole new journey. Like they never work the same exact way. It's not like using a spray can, you know, or a marker. You know, like paintbrush, it's its own animal in a sense, you know. So it's a whole new vibe. Almost every time I paint, it's like I have to relearn how to paint that painting. It's a weird thing to say, but it's a feeling, you know. Like you have to get into the feel of that particular painting and how that's moving with that painting, at least from my personal perspective.
Word. Also, yo, big up Jal Weiser. Thank you for getting the badge. We appreciate you. Now, this is another
Max,
piece.
what's up, Max?
This piece right here is actually in the Museum of Graffiti as well, right? Where was this originally done?
I did that. I was doing a bunch of folders back in like the high school times, like, you know, Hialeah High and stuff like that, and HML. And, you know, my ex-girl, Patty, had some folders, so I would piece up her whole folder. She'd bring it to school, and then I would do Vice, and then, you know, whatever, and then they would bring it to school. So I could, like, you know, kind of like secretly show off, I guess you could say, now that I look back at it, because I want them to see my work, because I could see their work, you know, on different aspects. So I want to show them what I could do, too, I guess you could say, now that I look back at it. So that was just one of the folders that I did for Vice, even though he wasn't going to school at the time.
And this piece actually ended up on a wall as well. Is that correct?
Yeah. That's the one we did with the Jester.
Word up. There it is, man. Okay, so now we taking it. For those of you that know, thank you, Ross Terms, man. Big up for purchasing a badge. We really appreciate it.
What's up, Terms?
All right, so pennant time, right?
Vice.
This you could see now driving across the highway by the airport, correct? It was so big you could see it across the water. Is that right?
Yeah, that's why. That was just me and Vice that day. We went over there to do that, and my goal was to make it big enough to read from the highway across that little river that was in front of that baby pennant right there.
No doubt. We see a Who Crew tag, AMP Crew. What year was this done around?
No, that's a pretty good question, man. Vice could tell you more than I can tell you. He has really good memory, but I would have to say in the 90s.
Okay, early 90s. There it is. All right. This one too. This definitely made its rounds when I was trading graffiti flicks as a young writer. I definitely copped a copy of this, right? Well,
Yeah, yeah.
El Vulcan. This was on 8th Street, correct?
Yeah, that was actually right off of Flagler,
A
right down the
Flagler.
street from Miami High and One Crazy Way down the street. We got that job because of One Crazy Way job. So when we did that, I ended up airbrushing and painting a bunch of stuff on the inside of that place, which came to be like maybe a year after I did it. I'm watching the news, and a funny thing happened was that the place got raided, and I got this
Hold on, we lost your.
artwork as they were being fricked.
Wait, we lost you for about 5
Hello.
seconds. You mind? Can you come back one time? We lost you for about 10 seconds.
Oh, yeah. So the cool thing, am I still here?
Yeah, you got. You're good. You're good.
Hello.
You're good.
All right. So the cool thing, the funny thing about that was like about a year after I did that, I got to see it on TV, and I was like, oh, it's on TV. But the funny part about it is everybody's hands was up against my paintings as they were being frisked by the police.
No doubt. No doubt. This is real Flagler stories, right? If you're gonna get busted, somebody's on TV, somebody's coming out, somebody got up, right? No doubt. So you started doing some collaborations. We touched a little bit on the Love House. Here's another collaboration with you and AIM Crew, right?
Yeah,
what
that
other
was
crews?
the Mirror and Seal, and then Vice and Tame and Cass. We were all there that night.
And how were you like actually united with AIM Crew, or what crews were you united with in these years?
I guess at that time you could say we were pretty united because we were piecing together a whole lot back in them days and hanging out a whole lot back in them days. And that was around 87 from what Vice is saying right there.
Big up Mech. I see Mech AIM Crew in the building as well. It's most definitely. Kendall on 122nd. That's what Mech just dropped in the chat.
Yeah, he's got everybody's got a better memory than I do. Yeah, that was all the way in Kendall. I remember we was all the way out in the sticks that day.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and that's what this is about. These art talks is all about us putting the story together. You're gonna remember something. I'm gonna remember something. He remembers something. And we just put the story together, right? So really, man, for those of you just jumping in, we have the legendary DEK 7 Up crew. Skew was there that night. That's what Vice Wonder is saying.
Oh shit.
This is what it is, man. This is the history being written down. Keep dropping it in the chat. Ski. And I was in front of the Home Depot on 127. In front or behind, Mech? Anyway, by the Home Depot on 127 to Kendall Drive. We're going to keep it moving, man.
Yeah, I remember that.
So y'all have been putting in work, man. It's awesome. Another classic piece.
Yeah, that was on top of the Franco's Pizza in Hialeah.
We
did that whole wall. We did that whole wall, I think, over like 2 nights or 3 nights.
Classic. I mean,
we had to keep going back.
Say again? Oh, yeah,
we had to keep going back for that one because it was so big.
Word. Dope. Okay, now we're going to get into some serious talk because, and y'all in the room, please correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, we showed the demo stuff. Correct me if I'm wrong, family. I didn't know anyone in Miami to really be doing message pieces. A lot of times they were just doing their names, their crews. But I felt like what you and 7up brought to the game was actually actual messages, right? So for example, this one here says, too hot to stop, right?
Yeah.
And so what was the vibe? What made you say, you know, I don't want to paint my name. I want to paint a message. How did how did the graffiti community receive that? And why did you decide to, not paint your name and actually bring some other flavors out?
Well, the Too Hot to Stop came from like an old hip hop song. It was too hot to stop and too cold to hold. Mm-hmm. And it was just something I liked the way it flowed, and doing my name or someone else's name and over didn't seem to burn as much as like doing a whole phrase, like it seemed to go together a lot better for me. So those are some of the ideas I like to bring to it, because every time we just go throw up each other's names, they kind of they bounced off each other a little bit more, whereas doing a phrase made it more of a, a narrative mural, in a sense.
And so it didn't, this was the first one, but it didn't, it didn't stop with that. I mean, this Too Tough, I remember seeing this right off the Metro. Now this is a photo of it pretty run down, but
yeah.
tell us a little bit. Now, this was another idea. We said another message. What does too tough mean? What do you represent it? What, you know, what are you telling the people? What is it that's too tough?
I think the Too Tough on that one, particularly the why we chose Too Tough on that one, because we went to that was like the hood, like that was a real sketchy neighborhood. And we were there in the middle of the night, illegally in the hood. The crackheads were around and, you know, asking us questions and stuff. We're like, hey, man, we're trying to paint, you know, like, back off. We don't have $1, you know, and then, you know, and that piece lasted probably like over 20 years or something.
Yeah,
I was there for a long time, but that neighborhood was sketchy. We were taking a risk by being there, but we were willing to take that risk because we was too tough, you know, and that's how we were expressing the toughness of what we were dealing with in doing what we did. We were willing to go that next mile, the next level, to go to the next place where most writers wouldn't be willing to go to.
And who did the outline of that Too Tough piece?
The Too Tough was the outline was my outline, but the character was cast.
Nice, nice. And now, so this here, this is some legendary work as well. It's a little hard to see, but
I see it.
Born to Burn. I remember seeing this off the, you know, I was rocking with AIM Crew on the Metro Rail, getting the Ted Koppel seal.
Yeah.
History lesson. And then we get into the Hialeah area by Northside Flea Market and Born to Burn, another message.
Yeah.
I mean,
and so Born to Burn, I don't know how I came up with the Born to Burn. It was something I drew up one day and I had the drawing ready to go. And that's something, you know, we just were like, hey, let's go piece, you know, and we had the paint and we went and did it and I had the outline and the sketch ready to go. And then we kind of put it together. But that was a fun night because we had a Dimension up on the roof with us. And as the train rode by, he was sleeping the whole time on the roof. Dimension could sleep through anything.
Wow.
We're like, yo, watch out for the cops, Dimension. And we look over, he's knocked out.
Yeah, I mean, legendary, Born to Burn, right? So you revisited it again.
Yeah, we did.
Hold on one second. Let me see. Okay, tell us. So you're taking a theme now that was done in the Born to Burn was the late 80s, early 90s, right?
Yeah. So that
now,
was revisited again with Terms doing the outline on that one.
Big up Terms. And so how did it feel to see this concept you created, this Born to Burn idea? It became something that actually a next generation of writers came in and produced.
I thought it was actually really cool to see it come to life, you know, again and again, you know, like I was not even sure that it inspired too many people too many times, because when stuff was going down and we were doing things, it didn't seem like there was too many people that was giving us a lot of feedback at the moment, you know. A lot of the feedback came later, and then we weren't looking for the feedback, but we didn't know if it was affecting anybody. We know what we liked and why we did it. And what it meant to us, and it wasn't even about so much the other people. It was about us achieving and conquering and overcoming, you know. And it's almost the same aspect like conquering and overcoming the fear of getting a tattoo or something like that. You have to get through it, you know, and that's the fun part, is getting through it and overcoming and then finishing and conquering. So that's kind of like what I felt like we were going through a lot. To see people be influenced by it or liking it or showing some love for it is even better.
Word up. For those of you just checking in, we got the legendary DEK 7 Up crew. I see you, Crazy Legs, Big Up Rocksteady crew, and the, you know, early Foundation B-boys and the work that was put in. We appreciate you being in here with us. For those of you just joining, please purchase a badge and help so we can continue to tell the story of Miami graffiti and document this. If you haven't been down to the Museum of Graffiti in Wynwood, make sure you get it because it is live. Now we online with DEK, and so now another crew wanted to pay homage because this idea was so dope, right? Your Born to Burn, it continued into the 90s. By the way, the first one was 1989. But now you got other writers, I believe this was Sinner and some other writers that paid homage to your piece.
Yeah, they killed it too. They did a great job. I think that was really awesome how they kind of kept the same concept with the letter style a little bit and almost the same colors on the inside a little bit, you know, and they just added their own flavor to it, you know, and just kind of improved it a little bit, because I like the flow a little bit more than what we even did. But it was a different, you know, many years were passed since we had done ours, so you know the styles have improved a little bit. But I loved how they rocked it and used the colors and the letters, the style almost similar looking. You know, I really was honored to see them do that. I thought it was awesome.
Word up, big up Sinner and Scam for keeping the
Hell yeah,
message
Sinner's super
alive, man.
clean.
All right. So you after your run in Miami, you ended up going to New York for a little while. What was your reason for leaving Miami?
I went to New York City because I was tattooing already in Miami for a few years, and then New York was illegal for tattooing back then until about 97. And so 97 they legalized it. So I'm like, I'm gonna go to New York. I had the ability now that I was tattooing to do things with my life that I couldn't have done before that. Tattooing allowed me more, opportunities that were not to be had before that. So I went to New York and started working tattooing in New York.
And how did the graffiti in Miami vary from? Oh, this is taking us back. But the graffiti in Miami, how did it vary from New York when you went over there?
New York, they painted a lot smaller. I also believe like the letters were always smaller. The fills weren't as swirly. They were more edgy, whereas Miami was more swirled and pastel-y, at least on my end, how I felt. They were more angular, was more like rounded, it's just a look that I think that flowed with like the beach and the water and the sun and the pastel colors and the buildings out. How Miami looks, like if you notice like a lot of the Art Deco's rounded edges and the architecture, whereas New York's more angular and sharp. It's just the look of the overall city of how it contrasted with Miami. So I could see the difference with the artwork too, the same way. That's how I saw it, at least.
And this here is another example, another legendary piece that the photos made their rounds, right? One Crazy Way.
Yeah, it's the second time we painted One Crazy Way, but that time was the one we painted with Say. I think it was one of the first times we painted with Say. He did the lettering, and I was doing the background, and he helped with the Panther and stuff like that. But it was great to paint with Say. He had a new outlook on things. It was awesome.
And like, how did comic books inspire your work?
Oh yeah, for sure. Comic books were something that was a go-to for me before I was even doing tattoos. I was using comic books as my jump off to learn how to draw textures and styles and motion and feeling and stuff like that. And my biggest influence a lot was heavy metal magazines was what I used to get the most from like the 70s actually. Heavy metal magazines almost was like graffiti a little bit. A kid my age wasn't supposed to have that because that should, those magazines were kind of like, adult magazines, but it was all artwork, adult artwork. So heavy metal was something I collected. I had a huge stack of heavy metals.
Yeah, they were definitely risque magazines for youth back in the day, right?
Yeah, it was part of kind of the whole lifestyle that I was kind of living. I think that's why graffiti was another influence for me, because anything that was like not allowed was the things that I was interested in a little bit. I don't know why, but that's just how I felt. If I wasn't supposed to have it, I wanted to have it.
Word, I hear that. So here's another. This is definitely more new school 7-Up in terms of the style, the letters. It's definitely getting a lot more complex and the fillings, right?
Yeah, that's a lot of KV and Terms and Vice and Meta and Tease and everybody getting busy. Everybody doing their own little parts in the piece. We all kind of collaborated as a crew on that one really well. I really liked that one. That was a lot of fun. Most of what I contributed to that was very little compared to what everybody else contributed to that. I believe everybody else put a lot into that.
Yeah, I mean those colors, brother. I mean, just how it's so hard to pull off something with so many colors matching, and it's just like it did it. It absolutely is brilliant. That
was a fun night. We had a good time that night.
So is this legal or illegal?
That was right outside 004 Connect. So we had 004's back. They had our back on doing that wall on the backside of the outside of 004.
And what do you think over the years is the difference between painting legal versus painting illegally?
I think that illegally was the way to go. And if you weren't doing it illegally, you never understood what real graph was really about. Illegally was the thing that kept you on your toes. You couldn't sit back and relax. You had to produce. You had the risk of being caught, which made that more, you know, exciting in a sense, but that more risky, that a lot of people aren't willing to take that risk, and you have to still stay focused on what you're doing and doing your artwork with the, you know, the chance of someone coming up on your back and pulling a gun on you, you know, telling you get on the floor thinking you're breaking into a building when you're just writing graffiti. So all of that plays in tune with how your artwork is going to show through that too, because all these emotions are running through your body and your mind, and you have to produce at the same time, and it just makes the work, you know, more exciting too, you know, like the way it looks, the artwork.
Word. And how did non-writers, like non-writers and family and friends that weren't into the graffiti scene, how did they feel about you being involved with this illegal art form?
Oh yeah, they were not digging it at all. I remember when I was younger, even girls were like, "Ew, you do graffiti? You got paint on your clothes. That's gross." I'm like, yeah, give it 20 years, you'll catch up.
No doubt.
Look at them now. You know, they're all the girls are writing graffiti more than the guys, it seems like.
Damn, no doubt. So this Miami piece is actually done on the side of Tough City. What can you tell us about Tough City Tattoos?
Tough City Tattoos, that was a great place to work, man. I got to work with Med and Cess and Yes, and, you know, meet those guys. You know, they're all great writers. You know, I got to paint with them a couple times. I painted with them in the Bronx on this rooftop and the meat market that they have over there in the Bronx. I painted them within Miami and tattooed at the shop with them. They were very cool guys. We didn't really get to get super down. I only worked there for a short time, you know, but I really appreciated working with them, and it was fun to be able to, you know, see these guys and how they work, and you know, see the other end of things, you know, as opposed to Miami style. And they're, you know, and watching Dubs was over there painting all the time. That guy was killing it, man. He could paint a whole wall by himself, you know, no help from nobody, you know, all in one day, giant piece, you know. And I'm like, it just blew me away all the time. And he would do it like once a week, it seemed like.
No doubt, no doubt. So once again, we at Tough City Tattoos. We're in New York City. You are live with DEK, Museum of Graffiti, on Art Talk. We appreciate y'all rocking with us. This is Miami's history lesson with the original 7 Up crew. Please, if you can show some support, pick up a badge, come down to the museum, show some love. It's awesome to have all these old school writers, new school writers in the building. And speaking of new school, we're going to get into some of your new school work. So you went from these complicated, you know, graffiti Miami styles, and now how has your style changed once you just grew into this new form of graffiti that you started practicing?
Well, I feel like that I was kind of back in the days a little bit, really focused on the graffiti, you know, aspect and the letter structure and building letters, whereas I tried to break out of that. And I think that tattooing helped me like learn so many different ways of drawing, and just drawing a rose from the top of my head. You know, I never did that before tattooing. And so that threw in a whole new aspect of texture, because you use a lot of texture with tattooing, like the E inside the E pill, like to grab that texture and the angles and dimensions and stuff like that of things floating in front and behind, and like the barricade, how it's sitting off in the edge, you know, things like that. I enjoy doing that because it throws another aspect into the graffiti level, you know, of things that I enjoy doing and liked painting and drawing and stuff like that. And it just reminds me of my youth and throwing back things of little games that I played or wherever like that, or places that I go, is how I remind myself of what I was doing with this particular piece, you know?
Yeah, man, Scrabble's in the building, land a triple word, and you in there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I used to play Scrabble with my mom all the time, go to Circle K and, you know, rack some beer and stuff like that.
Circle K.
And get the Fifth Avenue peanut candy bar and stuff like that. So that's all a reminder of my youth and how I replayed that into the piece.
No doubt.
And then a lot of people don't know, but then in that particular piece that you were just showing, I put a little hidden theme in it. There's a bunch of D's on the left and then a bunch of nuts on the right. So it's like a joke. It says these nuts.
Yes.
I never told nobody really,
nuts,
but yeah. It's a joke though, having fun. You know, I like to make everything fun.
That's dope. That's dope. That's dope. So this right here, the first time I saw it, DEK, I actually thought this was a neon sign.
Sorry about that.
What technique did you use? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, first time I saw this from afar, I thought it was a neon sign. How did you actually do this? What techniques did you use to actually make spray paint look like it's real live lights?
So everything I did with that, it's all neon spray paint on a black surface, and then double layered. Where I did a clean line with the neon, and then doubled up on it, then did a haze over that, and then in the center just a really thin white line. You know, and many people have been doing neon in many different ways. But I think the difference was this, is that I focused on making the neon glow and bounce off each other a little bit more, because they were so close and tight and so many different colors, which made it glow a little bit more. I don't know if I did anything different than anybody else did. I just did what I thought would be cool, you know? And when I saw it after it was done, I even felt like, oh, it came out pretty nice. You know, I was proud of it.
Word up, word up, word up.
That was that piece right there was very difficult to do on all that corrugated metal. I tell you what.
So it's a blacksmith or a welder getting busy.
Yeah, it's a welder. Yeah, it was a hot rod shop where a guy was doing a lot of welding and building hot rods.
Nice, nice.
But it was hard to get those straight lines straight, because I had to move them around the corrugated metal to make them look straight.
Right. Right.
Because if I was to pull a straight line on that metal, it would bounce in and out, and you wouldn't see it straight.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Dope. Another Miami classic right here. This was
that was
part
me and KV.
Uh-huh. And this was part of the big wall that all the Miami writers, the History Miami wall, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the wall that everybody did on the bakehouse. That was the bakehouse wall. Yeah. And then everybody was piecing on that wall. Verse was there, and DFC, and Hershey was there. And my man Hershey, which I missed that dude, and all those dudes was there. It was a good time. We had some music. We had a barbecue. We painted. It was fun.
Yeah, real quick, I just want to big up my crew, Plan Beast, that was DJing that day, and STV crew got up on that wall.
Yeah.
I think we were the youngest crew out of every crew involved in terms of like who was up on that wall, because we came in from the late 80s into the 90s, and all of y'all were cast to start in the early 80s into the mid 80s, and nice. So it was an honor to be on that wall. With big up Brass King, because he was DJing and killing it out there, no doubt.
Yeah. It was fun. It was a good time.
That's you.
And we had Chaos and Orko right next to us too.
Say again.
Chaos and Orko was there too.
Yep.
And then TN7 dudes was there too, which we had beef with them. We made up. We was talking.
That's what it's all about, man. We're grown now, right?
Hell yeah.
No doubt.
That was at Art Basel. That was when Yes and Risk and them did a piece on the left of that, and I had gotten the middle. Somebody was supposed to paint that middle there, but they backed out, so I was able to get in on that.
Dope. A little nuclear bomb action.
Yeah, a little poof.
Okay. And what was the concept here? This thing was huge, by the way. I mean, you were driving down 95, and you see how small, you're there posted up, or someone's posted up. It was huge. What gave you the idea to paint teddy bears? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just jumped in on that concept. The teddy bears was nothing I had to do with any of that. That was they had outlined that on the wall, and they were like, "Hey man, can you paint that?" And I was like, "All right." So Vice and all them had and Sinner and Tease and somebody and Spen did a beautiful character on the left side of that piece. But then the teddy bears were outlined, and they were like, "Yo, we need somebody to help color this in, because we got to finish all this other stuff." And it's huge. I was like, "All right, I'll jump on it." And I ended up jumping on it, so I colored it all in, and I had a good time doing it. And I'm sitting down in the middle, so you can see how huge it is.
Yeah, man. No doubt. And
then they painted over it.
And welcome to Art Basel. Welcome to Wynwood. Right? So this is now getting into your commissioned work. What was it like?
Yeah, it's some newer stuff.
So what was it like transitioning from illegal graffiti into actually being able to earn a living as an artist in the graffiti?
Oh man, I tell you what, man, this is the first time where I actually spend time painting instead of feeling like I'm rushed and I have to finish it, or the weather's messing with me, or or I can only use spray cans. No, I can use everything. So when I'm going indoors like this, I use a lot of spray cans, but I'll jump off with some airbrushing. I'll jump off with some paintbrushing. I'll use everything and just throw everything together and just spit out the idea and the idea changes and it kind of forms itself. Like I have a concept, I throw it down, and then the concept changes on its own without me even controlling it. It becomes something different without without me having control over it. It has control over me. It kind of makes me do something. I'm like, oh, this has to be like that. This has to be like this. Where I'm finally allowing it to be it instead of me telling it what to be. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. You allow the artwork to become itself.
It's like it starts to become its own thing, and this becomes, this has to go there, that has to go there, and then it tells me what's going to be next,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No
I enjoy doing that the most. I tell you what, right now, because that's something that I feel the most proud of, because I could really shine, and show what I could really do without any limitations. Whereas like when you're out in the street and doing graffiti, there's a lot of limitations with what you can do, because of the wall has the bricks or there's a pipe in the middle, which that's still fun. You can still use those things, but then people are, they can paint over your piece, right after you do it, or they can buff it or anything like that. Where this, it stays there. You get paid for your time, so you feel like it's worth it too, and it's a lot of fun, man,
No doubt. No doubt. So where are these pieces? What city are we in now?
These are all in a place called Pioneer Pizza, which is in the west coast of Florida, close to Fort Myers, a town called Punta Gorda, Florida, where I was living just before I moved now to Kentucky.
Okay, so you're living in Kentucky. What's the graph scene like in Kentucky?
There's a lot of pieces out here, man. There's a lot. It looks like a lot of people are really into the graph scene out here. There's skateboarding and graph, got a lot of graffiti, and a lot of muralists out here. A lot of painters. I was really surprised the first couple of times I came out here to visit. There's a lot more going on here than there was in Florida, where I was at. In Miami, of course, what's going on there, but not where I was at in Florida. I felt like I was the only one, maybe two other people tops in that whole town. I mean, there's some stuff going on in Sarasota and like St. Pete and Tampa, but there's more going on in Kentucky than there was in Sarasota and Tampa.
No doubt, no doubt. Big up Don Juan for purchasing a badge as well. Just to let y'all know, we are in town. We are in the building right now. The legendary DEK 7-Up crew.
Yo!
Art Talk, Museum of Graffiti. We only got about 10 minutes left, so man, we're gonna jump into this this next career change you had. You really got into tattooing and started blowing up, right? So tell us a little bit. Tell us a little bit about. Oh, we got another piece here to check out. But tell us a little bit about your full-time transition into tattooing and what that meant to like your art world. As a matter of fact, well, here's a canvas that's right here, right behind you, right?
All right.
So this is canvas work. Tell us a little bit about this piece.
Yeah, that's a piece that I painted while I was in New York. I don't even know where the vision came from, to tell you the truth, but I had this feeling about New York. This is before all the flooding with Sandy happened, but I had this vision of New York drowning, and the only people that were going to survive in New York were the ones who did the hard work. And the people who do the hard work in New York are the ones who were on the subway, because at the time I was there, they were making the streets smaller, so more people had to ride the subway. It's like they were forcing, economic strugglers to work harder and not be able to drive in the city and stuff like that. It's just something that happened in New York. So I felt like, when the apocalypse comes or the world ends, or when you need the people who do the hard work, that's when, you're going to be, wonder like how you're going to survive, because you can't do things on your own just because you got money. You can't fix shit. You need the people in this world that ride the subway type thing, and the subway's going to survive. That was the idea behind that. I can't say it's a whole concept, but it's just a thought.
No doubt. And so now you're going from graffiti on walls to graffiti on skin, right?
Yeah, I was doing that for a little while. I'm still doing that when I get the opportunity to do that, but I like doing it. I like making the colors inside the letters look like actual paint.
No doubt. And what's the biggest difference now between painting on walls to needle on skin, and how has your skill developed in that area over time?
Painting on skin is a whole different concept. You're messing with blood, plasma, needles, a machine at the same time. It's a lot more challenging than I think spray painting, but that's what I like. I like the challenge. I like things that are, if it's easy, it's not good usually. Like you have to work hard to get the good things in life. And and so it came pretty easily for me. I've been doing it now for 27 years, and for the 27 years I've been doing it, I've been staying pretty successful at it. Like I haven't had problems. Like a lot of guys I know when I first started are complaining that they're not doing well, with tattooing so much right now, especially like COVID and all that stuff like that. But I still been lucky enough to stay pretty busy and not have to struggle too hard with getting clients and stuff. But I think it's also the hard work that I put in and doing things that other people turn down and they found that were hard to do. Like that one particular piece you're showing now, nobody wanted to do that at all. And I was like, hell yeah, I'll do it. I'll paint, little paintings on things really small and details. I'll work hard. I like it. I enjoy the hard work because the hard work makes you feel good at the end. You accomplish something, you did something well. And also, you get more work from it and you get, you get to learn something new with everything that you do that's challenging.
No doubt, no doubt. So have you ever made a mistake tattooing, and how do you cover that up? I know that they say in art there's really no mistakes, but what's one time that you're like, oh shoot, I'm in trouble, man. What am I gonna do? And you pulled it off.
It's a happy accident, like Bob Ross says. It's a happy accident. No, I don't think I've ever made a mistake because it's always pre-planned. It's not like painting a canvas like a painter would do. Like he just goes up with a thought. This is all planned out. Usually, you figure it out before you do it. You know where you're going to go before you go there. It's like planning your route on Google. You already know where everything's going to be and how you're going to get there. There was a couple times in the past where people have brought me things where they have give me a wrong date or something like that, or spelled something wrong in a different language I didn't understand. And I've worked with them to fix that, which is I could, figure it out how to hide things or disguise things. I do a lot of cover-ups, bro. A lot. I do mostly cover-ups. I'm always fixing somebody's work. I'm not saying everybody sucks, but a lot of people are bad.
No doubt. And I mean, and you're also well acknowledged. You've gotten awards and, recognized internationally in the tattoo magazines. How do you differentiate yourself from like the suckers out there? I've heard that there's a movement. If you could talk a little bit about how people are getting over in the tattoo world now.
Yeah. There's a lot of dudes out there and dudes that I've worked with. I've watched them do it. They take their tattoos, they take a photograph of their tattoo, and then they'll put it on Photoshop and they'll straighten out some lines. They'll make the black blacker. They'll smooth out the grays. They're cheaters. They're not portraying themselves, as factual. They're selling a fake like hamburger. Like you see a cheeseburger picture of McDonald's cheeseburger, and it never looks like that same cheeseburger when you get it. But with tattooing, you can't do that, because you're selling pipe dreams. You're sending somebody a message of something that they think they can get that they're never going to get, really. You have to send the real image out there, which I do with my images. I show them as they are. The only thing I would ever filter on my images is brightness or darkness, because sometimes a light is too bright or a shadow is too dark, so I can lighten or darken up. But I don't change colors. I don't blur. I don't use Photoshop. I don't do Illustrator. Image is what it is. And you see it in real life, and real person. You see how it looks. It looks just like the picture. There's some of these tattooers out there that are just doing some dirty shit. And excuse my language, just dirty things that I feel like, nobody should be doing stuff like that and selling lies.
No doubt. So, we are kicking it. The legendary DEK 7 Up crew. We just have a few more minutes. If you got any questions for my brother, drop it in the chat. DEK, what would you say over the years when it comes to graffiti, when it comes to art, how has it kept you sane in this world that can sometimes feel like it's insane? Yeah. Go ahead.
So I can tell you 100% because I see a lot of people doing it lately with all the stuff that we're dealing with now. The thing that keeps me the most sane is the fact that when you're worried about the world around you, I'm worried about, I got to finish this corner of this piece. I got to get this color that I ran out of. You know, my mind focuses on that. When everybody's worrying about like this is happening, politics or that, or you know, problems with the world, I can't fix those problems. I don't have money. I don't have power. I don't have influence like that. I don't come from a family that can do anything different. All I know is I got to work on that piece that I didn't finish. That's how I save myself from the world around me from not caving in, you know? Like my mind is always thinking about, I gotta finish this, I gotta get this color, I gotta do that drawing, I gotta do that. My mind is always on that. So that really gives me self awareness on the fact that like I don't have to worry about the things in the world that I can't change.
No doubt. There it is, man. Live from the mouth of DEK 7 Up Crew. If you do got any questions, comments, drop it in the chat. Please let us know what's up. Also, for those of you that picked up a badge, we really appreciate your support. Again, this is a community-based operation, so we can make sure we continue to tell the story of Miami graffiti. Please pick up a badge. It greatly helps us. Come down to the Museum of Graffiti in Wynwood and check it out. Right now we have the Saber Show. We have a wonderful Miami exhibit up there that's a part of the permanent collection where you will see some of DEK's work, 7 Up Crew, and a lot of the early, Miami history. So, DEK, before we get out of here, what would you say separates Miami's graffiti from the rest of the world?
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
I believe that Miami's graffiti has a look to the Miami style that kind of gives you a feeling of a happier vibe, and maybe happier is not the best word, but like a lighter end of graffiti. Whereas graffiti can have some people can see it as like a dark, ruining of the city. The brighter colors, the vividness, the openness of the letters. It's not so angular. It's a lot easier and laid back style, a little bit more, I think, Miami. And the colors and the fill-ins are a big part of it, where they have like, it's almost like an abstract art flowness inside the fills that it's like creates a comfortable feeling a little bit more than like, oh, graffiti is dangerous, I don't know. It's possible. Just a thought.
No doubt. No doubt. Well, that's about it. We got the brother DEK 7 Up Crew.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much, Brim.
Thank you. Any last things you'd like to share with the people?
Graffiti is saved my life, and I thank you. And Museum of Graffiti, you need to go there and check it out if you haven't been there yet. That place is awesome. And Ket, thank you for making all this happen too.
You already know, you heard it. DEK 7 Up Crew. We see y'all at the next one. Remember, tune in every Thursday night. Art Talks. We got the amazing Miami story being told. Also, check out us on Tuesdays when we tell stories from other writers around the world. And we out of here, y'all. DEK 7 Up Crew. Kings, y'all.
All right.
One love.
Brim, thank you. Peace, brother.
Thank you. Peace.
All right.